Games here tonight. Tips off in moments from Charlotte as it's the Mavericks and the Hornets. And based on the following statistics, it's advantage Hornets. Now, the Mavs are 15-3 at home, 2-16 on the road. So that's a plus 13 in terms of wins that they get when they are at home. The Hornets are right behind them. So the Hornets are very good at home, and they're not good on the road either. The Hornets are 14-7 in Charlotte, 4-11 on the road. So Dennis and Sekou, what are your theories to explain the Mavs' home dominance and road struggles?
Well, it's real simple when you have a young team. I'm talking about as far as Luka's being the face of the team. We know DeAndre and all those guys have been around for a while. So when you're at home, you play more confidence. You understand the building and your crowd gets behind you and so forth. Then you go on the road and teams have that tape on you, and now they're taking you out of your comfort zone. So that's what Luka, and that's why I think Darryl Armstrong talked to him the other day, is trying to teach the young guys that when you go on the road, you got to dig a little deeper and play more together.
Yeah, and I think when you put the ball in Luka Doncic's hands the way the Mavs have, you're largely going to ride the wave of momentum he brings. And at home, in that comfort zone, as you mentioned, 3D, he's great. On the road sometimes, still competitive, but not quite as comfortable. And that maybe affects the rest of that group in some fashion. Not to mention that Dennis Smith Jr., this is just his second year. I know he's a guy who's really shown himself, but he's been banged up. And then he's still adjusting to life on the road in this league. He's only been around one time. So those sorts of adjustments, Rick, are the ones you have to make at this stage of those guys' young careers.
And Dennis Smith Jr., it's interesting. His points per game and his shots per game have dropped each month this season. In October, 15.6 points per game on 14.6 shots. In December, down to 10.6 points on just 7.8 shots. Is that about sort of the mantle passing to Luka Doncic, or is there something else going on there?
No, I think Sekou hit earlier. When he missed those, I think it was like 10 or 15 games, the injury, Luka kind of just exploded and really started taking his game to the next level. Now he's just starting to get his legs back. So now when you have both guys being explosive, playing off one another, I think it's going to be great. So I'm not worried about the numbers much, Rick. I'm just worried about, watch this play right here. Watch how the legs are alive. Watch how he's getting to where he wants to get to on the floor. And you see OKC's trying to figure out, is he going to make the right decision? Because that's one of the things you question Dennis Smith. Under control, get all the way to the rim, finish the basketball. So now, as you're in transition, you say, wait a minute, Sekou, the reason he went so high in the draft is because of athletic ability. This is patience right here. Last year, he might have shot that three. You keep the dribble alive, you get all the way to the basket. So it lets me know that when he was hurt, he was paying attention to what he needs to do. Now, talk about legs, Sekou. We know Paul George is off to a great start. Look how he's moving his feet. Look how he can test without fouling. 2 hands up, hands down. Obviously, Paul George is having a great year, but good, consistent defense. I like what I see, Sekou. The question is, Rick and Sekou, when both of those guys figure out they can do well together, and I don't think there's an ego right now. No. I think both guys understand they're both quality players and they're both good and young. The question is, how long does it take for Rick Carlisle to put them on the same page?
Well, I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact is, when can you figure out how efficient you can be without the ball in your hands? We're talking about guys who look at their careers. You know, Luka Doncic obviously overseas, but Dennis Smith Jr. always had the ball in his hands.
Yep.
So now you're playing with another guy who's of equal or better talent than you. For both these guys, you have to figure out ways to be your effective best with somebody else in a ball handling role that's just as good as you are, that can create like you can, that can finish and has exceptional ability. So to me, this is really a good learning lesson for both these young guys to figure out, how do we complement each other and become one of those better backcourts in the league?
It's interesting because when the Mavericks drafted Dennis Smith Jr., Mark Cuban came out famously and said, the Dennis Smith era has begun in Dallas, and now they have Luka Doncic, who's the face of the franchise. So kind of weird how that's worked out. Let's switch gears and talk about Kemba Walker and the Hornets. Kemba has 2 of the 4 highest scoring games in losses this season, put up a 60, also put up a 47. Kemba is averaging 25.8 PPG, 11th in the league. Sekou, why are the Hornets winning more? Why aren't they winning more with their best player having his best season to date?
Well, because we have to come back to earth in this league and understand that even when you have one singular talent and a guy who's playing as good a basketball as he's played in his career, you can't do it alone in this league. You got to have some supporting cast that's playing at a high enough level to boost what you do. And Kemba has been balling. I mean, There was a stretch earlier in the year, I think he scored 103 points in a couple games, and it really lit it on fire, let everybody know he was coming out to establish himself as an all-star again in this league. And then he, the bumps, the bruises. Who's there to support you? Are you getting the best of Nick Batum, Marvin Williams, some of these other guys, Malik Monk? Are these guys playing and raising their game to a level that complements yours? Right now, they haven't been consistent enough for the Hornets to take that next step. But nobody can talk about Kemba's effort and his production. He's been fantastic.
Kemba's done everything on and off the floor since he stepped foot in Charlotte, so it's unfortunate for him he doesn't have enough help. Talk about Nick Batum, got the big contract a few years ago. He hadn't really lived up to his contract, so I just call it what it is. So Kemba each night is set the tone, is leading by example, just trying to figure out, to Seku's point, who else is willing to step up. Malik Monk may play good for a couple games, and he'll prove he's still young. Marvin Williams, a veteran, he is what he is now. Zeller just got hurt the other night in the hand, so it's not finding that consistent second guy to complement Kemba.
Well, a lot of times this year, that second guy has been Jeremy Lamb. Jeremy Lamb has been one of the most improved players this year. He is out tonight with a hamstring injury. Kansas rookie Devontae Graham is going to make his first start. So, Sekou, how does that change things, and how much more pressure is on Kemba now that Jeremy Lamb is out?
Well, hopefully with Devontae Graham being the kind of ball handler and facilitator he is, it takes some of the pressure off Kemba. That, to me, that's been the big issue for Charlotte. And this goes back to before the season, before James Borrego came in there. They've always been trying to figure out how can we keep Kemba as our catalyst and our scorer, as well as the point guard and the guy who facilitates for everybody else, and balance it in a way that allows Kemba to be at his physical best deep into some of these games you have. Let's be honest, he's not a big guy. So that means he's going to get knocked around physically on a nightly basis, slicing into the lane, going in there and finishing at the rim the way he likes to. Somebody else has got to be able to take that load off of him. Maybe Devontae Graham is the kind of guy who can do some of that.
Quite a defensive challenge for Dennis Smith Jr. and the Mavericks tonight to contend with